It definitely has. There really wasn't an identified community when I was here. Now there's much more of a community, much more of a presence, much more of a voice. And I think that is representative of where we are. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing.
When I was in high school, the term LGBTQ did not exist. In fact, I did not know what a lesbian was or what it meant to be gay. The language wasn't part of my lexicon. I grew up in a village and we didn't see any of that. So between now and then, I love the change. I love the difference. It's the awareness that I value most.
Well, obviously it really has. I graduated from high school in 1976. The acronym itself didn't exist. There was the concept of obviously having an alternative lifestyle, but you had to hide it completely. It was not at all acceptable in high school to define yourself as gay or queer or lesbian or anything like that. I think the history that people see in videos and things like that, that was definitely my experience in high school, that you could get beaten up or that you could be really socially penalized for expressing your own personal choices.
I would say yes, coming from going to RBC and graduating 20 years ago, where it wasn't something that was really talked about or even really accepted in Catholic schools. It's been a big transition and change. Even going into college and first experiencing and seeing it, I feel like, to be honest with you, older people are a little bit more closed-minded to it and maybe not as accepting to it. And I think going to college and then being in front of it and accepting and having friends that are LGBT has made me more aware and open, so that by the time I got out of college, it was something that I was overly comfortable with.
I teach the gender studies course. Gender's so fluid. There's so many different genders. People have such a narrow-minded view sometimes of what gender is, and you'll see it sometimes when you have to fill out a form, like at the doctor's office or something. Gender, male, female. It's like, no, that's not gender at all. And like I said, it's fluid. I don't think we can necessarily identify as this is my gender, because I think depending on circumstances, depending on feelings, depending on who you meet in life, that changes. We're all capable of many, many different feelings and many different ways of relating to people. So to me, gender is completely fluid. It changes constantly. You can't just say I'm this or I'm that. No stereotyping allowed.
Gender is cultural, sex is biological. A baby is born, it has parts one way or the other, sure, but that doesn't mean it's going to grow up to act a certain way. The idea that based on your parts you should act a certain way is cultural, and that's gender. It's a role, it's an idea. Simone de Beauvoir, the philosopher, says you're not born a woman, you're born just a body, and society kind of impacts you with these ideas of what you should be or shouldn't be, but we could change that, and that's pretty cool. And it's nice to be in an environment where that's the case, because I've never been like a hugely gender conforming person in the football town that I grew up in and everything, so it's pretty awesome for everybody.
What I would say, how I would define the difference, is that sex would be the biological traits that you're born with, the things that make you male or female. But to me, gender is more about your own personal identity, because you can be born with certain biological traits, but that's not how you identify. And I feel like all of those categories, male, female, masculine, feminine, I feel like sometimes they're in place to pigeonhole people so that they have to make a selection. And perhaps for some people, that's just not how they feel. It certainly is not always a natural situation. I think that we have so much data and so much evidence that there are people even in a young age that are born a certain sex and don't identify as that sex or gender. So I think that we need to continue to have the conversations and be open to what people feel, because it shouldn't matter what your biological sex is or what gender you choose to identify with, if any.